Really? I'll help your practice with it if I can. Please do. You continued swapping visions of the years ahead until Cove returned. With a start, you realized that a solid 15 minutes had slipped by, and it only felt like a few moments. With fresh minds, you all turned back to your work. The sound of shuffling dragged you out of your head. You looked up, surprised to see Derek packing up. You're done? Derek casually shrugged, but you could tell he felt proud to be the first finished. Uh-huh, told you it wasn't anything hard. Wish mine was that easy. Was it even worth coming to the library for that? No, I wouldn't have said either of these two. What are you going to do now? You wondered how Derek was going to spend his newfound freedom.
Maybe.
I could look over what you're doing. Maybe I've got some tips that'll help. Yep. Sit right on my lap. Sit right on my lap, Derek. Help me out. Help a brother out. That'd be great, thanks. No thanks. You nodded your head yes. You shook your head no. That'd be great, thanks. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. With a smile, Derek leaned over your part of the table. He took some time to get the gist and point you in the right direction before turning it back over to you. Derek leaned on the back of his feet. Okay, I'm gonna look around while you guys finish. See you. Bye. See you. And then it's an awkward moment with me and Cove. Later on, Cove shifted in his seat, closing his book as he looked over the notes he'd been taking. Glancing away, you contemplated what you had done thus far, too. You had finished everything. You had finished most of the assignments. You say there was about half left. You still had a long way to go. No, I would have finished everything. Just as you thought, it hadn't been that difficult. You wrapped it up already. Derek's advice made it easier in the end. Are you about ready? It's almost 4. Yeah, I think so. Come on. The both of you gathered up your books. After returning the ones you'd used for reference to their proper shelves, set off to find wherever Derek had wandered off to. He was in the biography section. His back was to the two of you, one hand above his head and the other supporting himself against a shelf as he strained to grab one of the books. Hey Derek, we're ready.
Okay.
Oh, okay. He glanced towards the sound of your voice, then upwards towards the shelf he was trying to reach. I can get that for you. You followed his gaze and took the book off the shelf for him. Derek? I said, I can get that for you. Yeah, thanks, Hark. Derek directed you towards the book he wanted. It was an autobiography of someone you'd never heard of before. And then the three of you moved to the front of the library to wait for your rides. You stood close to the window and let out a content sigh, feeling the rays warm you from the slightly chilly library interior. I wish our assignments were more exciting. You stared into space. Got any plans after this, Derek? Want to come over to my place? Gotta work on my technique. Can't get rusty while school's out. I can come. I volunteer as tribute. I can come and help you too with your technique. I'd love to see your technique. That answer was inevitable. Technique for what? Soccer. How about you two? You didn't much like being lumped in with Cove, as always, even if it had just been a turn of phrase. This is when I'm not when I'm indifferent to Cove. Nothing planned. Me neither. Oh, that's my dad's car. Derek lifted a hand to wave, pushing the door open and heading towards the blue pickup truck waiting in the parking lot.
See you later.
See ya, Hark. Bye, Cove. And there Derek goes. The best part of this entire moment. You watch Derek jog off before scanning the area for your mom. Did you get everything done? You got lost in your thoughts. I mean, I'm not going to completely ignore Cove. I'm not going to be that rude to him. Did you get everything done? Almost. I saw you're done. He smiled, impressed. You felt pretty good about that. With that, a silence fell between you and Cove. Awkward. It wasn't long before you spied your mom's car coming down the road. There she is. Time to go then. You climbed into the car, sliding into your usual seats and buckling the belts. Hey kiddos, did you get a lot done? I'm done.
Nice.
Amazing. The car shifted into action as you watched as the library shrunk into the distance. It wouldn't be the last time you saw it this summer. Even better, you were going to have good company with you. You were already counting down the days. Mom teased some more information about the day out to you. But soon enough, the trip was over. You had arrived back to your neighborhood. Cove didn't come inside. After getting out of the car, he parted ways. You gave him a casual goodbye and let him leave. Your thoughts drifted idly as you went up to your room. You abandoned your backpack on the desk. With everything wrapped up, you decided to unwind a bit by playing an old game you enjoyed. The afternoon came and went, dinner was eaten, and you were cleaning up the dishes left behind from it. You scrubbed the last of them and let out a satisfied sigh. Okay, they're done. I'm going upstairs now.
Thanks.
Thanks, Hark. Take it easy. When you got back to your room, you noticed your backpack from earlier. You figured it would be best to unpack the stuff you needed before going to bed. You hefted your bag up onto the bed. It sunk into the comforter. With that, you started to sort through books and paper packets. Not all of it were things you'd need anytime soon. A small pile of the most important asset began to grow at the side of your backpack until you'd gone over it all. You had actually finished flipping through the contents, but that wasn't all of your work. You instantly pulled the opening closer to you and peered inside. A second look through commenced, and then a third, and then you began to open the smaller pockets. You were missing your math assignment. You had spent the better part of your day completely finishing it, and now it was gone. It hadn't been that noteworthy before, but the bag wasn't really zipped when you first began to look through. The work could have fallen out somewhere if you had in the first place. Yeah, that would have been a pain in the butt. Realistically, that would have been a pain in the butt, but then I would have just had to do it all over again. Which would have been annoying, but I could have gotten it done. You were upset by the revelation, but you made yourself stay calm. I would have started to panic. All you could do was shrug. Your stress level shot up. It was best to think positively. You felt paralyzed. I mean, I'm gonna say my stress level shot up. I at that point, it's my math homework. See, the thing is, if it was like due the next day, I would probably panic a little bit, but this is still the middle of the summer. I could have just done it again, and it would have been okay. But I guess my stress level shot up. It was gone, and now you're going to have to replace everything you did for it. You made a sudden bolt for the other side of your room. You started to scour the spot the backpack was originally left in. With nothing in sight there, you expanded the search to the rest of the space. It was a frantic and ultimately fruitless effort. Your assignment wasn't here. You moved back down to the living room.
How are you?
Why, hello again. Is everything all right? You told your mom what was going on. You gave a rambling explanation of the situation. You answered her with a raised voice. You told your mom what was going on. I unpacked my bag and one of my assignments wasn't there.
I'm so sorry.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry. What's missing? An assignment for school from the library today? Mom's eyebrows raised with concern at the answer. That's a pickle. I'll call right now. I think they might still be open. Thanks, Mom. Don't worry about it. That's not going to help. You let her go without a word. Thanks, Mom.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Just leave it to me.
It's okay.
I mean, the worst they could do is say no. We'll figure this out, honey. Why don't we give Cove a call after? He was with you, right? Maybe he'll remember seeing something. Your mom re-entered the scene a few minutes later. The look on her face was not promising.
Well,
So I got a hold of one of the librarians. They don't have any papers with your name on them. Not that they could see, anyway. I'm sorry. Thanks for trying. Okay. You had no reply. You groaned in frustration. I'll be like, oh, honey, we'll figure this out. All right, my turn. Both your parents went to the phone for a second attempt at helping. This time you were ushered to join too. Why'd she have to bring Cove into this? It was embarrassing. I wouldn't say that. We're not frenemies. You sighed. Things were bad enough. This only made it worse. You wanted to hope this might go somewhere. You stopped her from calling him. You wanted to hope this might go somewhere. I mean, it's worth a try. I would be too upset at losing my homework to be embarrassed. Like, nothing would embarrass me if it meant that I could possibly find my homework. Why would that embarrass me? It wasn't likely, but anything was better than nothing. Ma put it on speaker after punching in the number for your next-door neighbors. It only took a moment for the call to receive a cheery answer.
hi.
Hello, this is Cliff's house with Kyra speaking. Good evening, Kyra. It's Nolanai, Angel. Pam and Hark are also here. Is there any way we could speak with Cove? We need his thoughts. Hey everyone, just give me a sec. I'll have him pick up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. True to her word, Cove's voice came through.
Hey.
Hi, Angel family. You wanted to ask something? Yes, thanks for talking. Hark doesn't have one of the assignments from today. Do you remember anything that might help us find it? I saw some stuff when Hark had it out at the library. I don't remember him putting it all away, but I'm pretty positive there was nothing left on the table when we were done. So that's a good sign? He spoke honestly. Before now, he hadn't even considered that something might have been left behind.
All right.
That's good news, at least. There's less of a chance it's there instead of somewhere else. You felt some relief. There wasn't exactly a great revelation. It didn't make a difference to you. You felt some relief. Since losing your work, you had been second-guessing what happened while you were there. It was good to hear you hadn't noticed anything amiss. The main motive for the call was finished, but Cove still had something to say. The tone was noticeably awkward.
I'm sorry.
Sorry that happened. The school can give you another copy of any worksheet. If your moms are busy with work tomorrow, I can ask my mom to go. That way you get it back right away.
That
helps. I appreciate the offer. I'm sure Hark does too. Luckily we'll be able to pick it up, if it comes to that. Alright, bye then? Have a good night. Bye. Ma clicked off the receiver, bringing the conversation to a real end. She then gave you a couple soft pats on the shoulder. I'll be right back. I have another idea. You simply watched as Ma headed out of the room. Mom came over to keep the comforting going. Ma has good ideas. It'll be okay. If worst comes to worst, I'll sit down with you for as long as you need tomorrow and we'll bust out a fresh version of your assignment. We'll get it done. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. You'll remember information better if you go over it all more than once. This might save you some studying time down the road. Maybe. Actually, that's a very good point. That could be true. It made you happy that she was trying. You couldn't feel better about it. Her help was just annoying. That could be true. And it'd be nice if it was. Then Ma called out. Is this it? Ma strolled back into the room with papers in hand. Your eyes widened. These were on the floor of the car. It's a math assignment by Archangel. I would have immediately also checked the car. Like, that would have been the next place I would have checked. I imagine it ended up there by accident on the way home. She smiled widely at you. You were so relieved. You were so embarrassed. You couldn't believe it. You didn't know how to react. I'm so relieved. It was back. You had your work, and that's what mattered. I definitely knew that my homework appeared in a totally different way, and it was through Cove. Which made more sense from a narrative standpoint if I had a deeper relationship with Cove. You felt an arm pull you into a side hug. Lanny, you're a genius. You smiled sheepishly over the simple resolution as to what had been such a worry. Your comfort didn't go unnoticed. You know, even if we did find it, in the end that doesn't mean it wasn't ever being worth being upset about. That was a frustrating situation. Thanks, Mom. I like that. Ma came to stand in front of you, both of you and Mom, and wrapped her arms around the both of you. She squeezed.
Fantastic.
I'm so glad it's going to be all right. Of course it will be. You just proved Hark was a genius Ma, has a genius Ma, whose whole job is to make sure things are okay. Aw, Pam, you're so smart and helpful too, and naturally so is Hark. I have to agree. Did you see how he handled those dishes earlier? It was a perfect job. The two laughed together as they had many times before. There was the thought in your head that you knew to be true. Your moms would be there for you when it came to the big things and with the small things. I'm really glad that I did that again because totally different storyline. It was way shorter because, again, a lot of the Cove content was taken out, but that's okay. I didn't mind that it was shorter. And I mean, I only played it really because of the Derek content. So yeah, that was very enjoyable. Okay, so now that we did that, that was a very nice break. Let's dive back into the Derek DLC. I'm gonna jump right into Lemonade. I need some Beyonce playing right now. Yeah, that's cool. I do love how dramatically different that played out. It was afternoon on a sleepy summer day. Nothing urgent needed to be done. No real plans had been made. You and your company were simply hanging out around the local beach, free as the breeze. The companions you had for your trip across the shore were Derek and your neighbor Cove. I love how Derek is prominently in the middle instead of Cove, because normally that would be flipped around. Derek was friends with both of the 13-year-olds in the neighborhood, so the three of you could often get together as a group when he was in town. 3 pairs of footprints trailed along in the soft white sand behind you. Derek had only dropped off minutes ago. Instead of going inside your house, or Cove's, you'd simply started to walk. It was definitely hot out. Southern California tended to get that way, but it wasn't so bad that you had to hide away from the beating rays of the sun. Cove's hands were in his pockets. He spoke out while facing away from you. Instead, he lazily watched the unchanging horizon. What do you guys want to do? You and Derek took on matching squints. Normally there'd be endless answers to that question, but the lackadaisical mood made it feel like trying to solve math problems in a dream. You had nothing. Your thoughts were moving as slowly as the tide that inched towards the shore bit by bit. Finally, the resident problem solver offered a possibility with a yawn and a tall stretch of his arms over his head.
Well?
Wanna walk to the grocery store? What? Cove twisted his face to the opposite side and stared at Derek. A stuttering laugh expressed his disbelief. Why would we go grocery shopping? With a shrug, Derek scratched his cheek and explained. Well, it's probably different here, but where I live, the closest place to get stuff isn't a convenience store or mall or anything. It's a grocery store. So sometimes me and my bros will take a trip down there and see what we can find. That sounds neat. Would you find groceries? You joked. I'll try it if you want to. You stare at him, the same question and look at Cove. You nod along with expression. You've got some interesting hobbies, Derek, you teased. Wouldn't you find groceries? You joked. Derek just laughed. The puzzled reactions from his two friends didn't deter him at all.
This is gonna be great.
It's really not like normal errands. You can get anything you want. There are a lot of things at the store you never even think about when you're there with your parents and a list of stuff for the house. Cove's formerly heavy, drooping lids lifted high, showing his bright blue eyes. He glanced between you and Derek for final confirmation that you were seriously doing this today. Derek had complete confidence in his stance. He's got a point there, Cove. I think this will be interesting having, this is the first of the new Derek DLC moments that actually included Cove in it. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. The corners of your neighbor's mouth perked up as well.
Sure.
Okay, let's go grocery shopping. That was cute how Cove said, sure. Cool. It was another successful bit of improvising on Derek's part. He put his hands on his hips
Let's
eagerly.
go.
He always has his hands on his hips. His sprite always does. I'm pretty sure I know where your store is, but the two of you should probably lead the way. Leave it to us. Cove puffed his chest out with pride. He was a true local to the town after being there for so many years. And your walk continued, now with an actual destination in mind. Let me guess, are we gonna purchase lemonade? You retraced the remnants of your steps in the sand, heading back to the neighborhood, then up the hill and out of the residential area. When you turned onto Main Street, the grocery store was already visible in the distance. It also wasn't going anywhere, so you enjoyed the stroll together. You would arrive when you arrived. Derek continued to sell the concept of his plan by recounting stories of him and his brother's past adventures in grocery land. So we'd gotten super lucky because the discount rack had a whole cherry pie for way off. Me, George, and Nico pulled our pocket change to get it, and then we had an entire pie just like that. We sat outside on a bench near the store and ate it from the pan. I will admit, I actually genuinely enjoy going to the supermarket and going grocery shopping. The foodie that I am, I love to eat food and I love to cook food and I love to just see like what kind of stuff, new things I might end up finding in the grocery store, like what new cereals. Yeah, I mean it may sound pretty mundane to a lot of you, but for me that's, I don't know, I enjoy going to the grocery. I'm with Derek. Like it is, for some people it's a chore, and for me, it's fun. I enjoy it. It was cut into 6 slices. I only let the kids have 1 piece. I love how he says I only let the kids have 1 piece each. It was already a lot of sugar. I didn't want to make them food sick. Very smart. I tried to come up with how we were going to explain half a pie to Mom, but Nico had his own idea. He took a slice he wasn't allowed to eat and instead threw it at George. Cove's mouth gaped open at the audacity. Derek laughed out loud at the memory and the response it got in the present. He'd just been watching way too many cartoons with food fights and pies to the face, I guess. You'd believe that. If there was one thing Nicholas loved, it was Derek. And if there was another, it was cars. And if there was a third, it was copying things he'd seen others do. Obviously, George didn't let that slide, and he took the 5th piece of the pie and squished it right into Nicholas's head. His hair was covered in dark cherry goo. It was a mess, but if you can't beat them, join them. I dumped the last of the pie on myself. He would. Why? It stopped them from fighting over it, and they would have ended up feeling bad if they got messy and I didn't. Nicholas doesn't think very far ahead. Oh, what did you do next?
Honestly,
We found a water fountain around the back of the grocery store and tried to scrape off as much pie as possible. Then we went home. Mom still figured out what happened. We all had to take real baths. That was a good time. A fond smile settled on Derek's face. He glanced up to the sky while getting lost in an entirely private moment of reminiscing. Cove was still reflecting on the story with amusement. It was always a treat when Derek had the space to share a tale, though it was hard for real-life experience to compare to the legend of Baby Castle. I love how we made a reference to the Baby Castle. If we had done this from left to right instead of right to left, then we wouldn't have this reference, and I thought that's awesome. Although I have to imagine that if we did go from left to right, there would have been some references in the rightmost scenes that we wouldn't have gotten because we didn't do the leftmost scenes first. So the game is really good about that, I have noticed. That's adorable. I hope we'll find a whole pie. Huh, grocery stores are more exciting than I thought. You giggled at Derek's storytelling. You shook your head at how ridiculous that was. I'm gonna say I hope we'll find a whole pie. We'll have to check for it. The conversation stayed on the topic of store-related things. Derek had plenty more experiences to share. The chat didn't last much longer, though. Soon you crossed the street and arrived at Sunset Bird's local mom-and-pop grocery store. Ooh! You and your two co-shoppers headed right through the automatic doors. A shiver went down your spine when you stepped out of the afternoon heat into the powerful air-conditioned store, which is a wonderful feeling when things are swelteringly hot, is coming into a well-air-conditioned building. Shiny, orderly aisles stretched out in front of you. Each one was tightly packed with a plethora of brightly packaged merchandise. To some people, the rows and rows of items might have been a slog to go through, but seen through Derek's eyes, it was a scavenger hunt with endless opportunities. Though, it was Cove who spoke first. Do we need a cart?
Nope.
Probably not. Derek casually waved that off, eyes still fixated on the altar of the consumerism ahead. I normally just get a cart anyway, just in case I have a lot to get that I end up wanting to pick up, which is pretty often. We're here for quality, not quantity. Besides, do we even have enough money to buy a ton of things? Oh, wait. Cove suddenly burrowed his hands into his pockets once again. He tucked them in deep, but didn't find what he'd gone in search of. I don't have my wallet. It's at home. Me neither. I thought we'd just be in the neighborhood all day. Yeah.
I figured.
It's cool. I figured. Derek's lack of reaction couldn't smooth over Cove's obvious response to the situation. His wavy eyebrows pulled down together. We could have stopped by to get it before we left. Nah, this is my idea. So it's my treat. I've got like $8 and some change. That's enough for all of us to spend around a few dollars or put it together for one thing. That's gonna be plenty. Thanks, Derek. Not even $10 between us. Wow, it's like we're kids again. I promise I'll pay you back. Yeah, that'd be more than enough for this. You smile gratefully. I'll promise I'll pay you back. $3? Not even that much? It's really no big deal. I still want to. I will too. Fine, you guys win. Cove's hands finally deserted his pockets, and one came up to rub his forearm instead. Okay, thanks. Let's get something good. Derek took a step forward as he cheered. All right, here we go. You went down the street nearest aisle, swiveling your head to check both sides of the path as you swung your currently empty of goods arms through the air. Your first stop of the market expedition was the discount rack in the back. You didn't have the same luck as Derek and his little brothers. It was the only place in the store that was barren. One shelf had several dented cartons of chicken stock. Stuffed in the bottom of the rack was a bag of plain rolls. The sight was pretty pathetic. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, the dented cartons are the ones that end up in the discount bin. And for what? It's just a dented carton. Like, more than likely, everything inside of it is pretty much exactly the same as an undented carton. So, I would take advantage of that. Too bad. He shrugged like it was nothing, but his words told a different story. It would have been easy if there was a pie here, or a cake, or one of those pans with a bunch of cinnamon rolls. I'm actually with Cove there. I do love cinnamon rolls too, but I also love pie. Wistfully, Cove continued to mumble a list of miscellaneous pastries that you might have potentially been able to get if the fates had aligned. We should just give up. There's no pie. We can still get the stock. It's such a good deal. We can still get the stock. It's such a good deal. Sorry, Cove. I was hoping for cake this time, too. You shook your head with a smile. No, I'm gonna say I don't really love any of these answers. You shook your head with a smile. There's still plenty of possibilities. And if push comes to shove, we could afford a smaller treat, like getting 3 boxes with 1 slice of cake each. We would need more than that anyway. The deadpan expression Cove directed straight at Derek made him lift a curious brow. What? You'd want more? Yeah, Cove does eat a lot. Cove could have eaten half the pie himself. Yeah, speak for yourself, Derek. 1 slice wouldn't cut it. You don't need that much dessert, Cove. You shrugged, amused. Cove could have eaten half the pie himself. Wow, alright, it's a good thing we didn't find one then. Hey. You pushed past the already pilfered treasure chest and continued to chat. You passed cereals, pastas, and sauces. I wouldn't have just passed the cereals. I would have, investigated all the new cereals. My latest discovery was, what was it? Strawberry milkshake frosted flakes. They're great! No, really, they were great. They're awesome. Lots of sugar, though. That's the only thing. American cereals are notorious for having way too much sugar. So, I only eat that strawberry frosted flakes in moderation. An aisle full of chip bags and soda packs and more. The dry goods and canned foods now behind you, you arrived at the produce section. The arrangement, that's strange, normally the produce section comes first. The arrangement of goods was much more open than the narrow rows of shelves. The three of you could spread out more in between pallets and baskets of fresh fruits and vegetables. Derek grabbed an avocado to check its ripeness. I do love me some avocados. Cove stared at the watermelons, appreciating the fruit, but his blank face made it obvious he had no idea how to tell if they were good quality or not. With then a recognizable crackling sound sputtered to life. Both the boys with you lifted their heads. Without conversing, the two rushed over to the back wall where the leafy greens were piled up. A light spray of mist burst from the sprinklers, raining down gently on the produce. Cove and Derek stuck their hands into the damp air while snickering. Derek rubbed his hands together to pretend he was washing them. Cove lifted his hands up to be as close to the source of water as possible, because he does love the water. You also had raised your hand in the veggie mist. You thought of the two of them were silly. That was weird. You stuck your face in the misting. You also had you raised your hand in the veggie mist. You made your hand dash across the floor to enjoy the tiny dusting of water drops on your fingers. The impromptu public shower ended shortly, and it was back to the center of the space for you. Knowing grins were shared around as you regrouped, there was a comfort in realizing someone else had the same silly habit as you. With the distraction over and the main goal unresolved, Cove helplessly glanced around the store. He was totally stumped. That's a lot of things I like, but I don't have to get any of it now. How do we pick? I do find it amusing that one of the moments is all about hanging out in the grocery store. But I love it. I love it. There was a whine in his tone, because this game can get away with that, right? This game can. There was a whine in his tone, and he crossed his arms out in frustration. Derek kept it light, the same as he would when dealing with his much younger siblings. Dude, you need more imagination. Turn lemons into lemonade. And that's exactly what we're going to be getting. Awesome suggestion, Derek. Actually, wait. Yeah, that's what we should do. We can get some lemons and make our own lemonade. The concept struck Cove as much as Derek. Oh, that would be cool. I think so too. Now that's an idea. If that's what you want. You gave a nod. I think so too. Now that's an idea. Thanks. Derek marched with purpose to a box that was heavy with mesh bags of the desired yellow citrus. He tapped a finger to his chin and then bounced from one foot to the other. Derek was suddenly a lemon connoisseur who scrutinized the offerings with utmost focus. He selected 2 bags, one in each hand. The bottom of each pack was set against his upturned palms. Derek jiggled the lemons. Derek jiggled the lemons and tried to get a sense of their weight. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep reading. Finally, the bag on the right was deemed superior, and Derek carefully laid the unwanted bundle back onto the stack. Then he lifted the winner high, showing it off to Cove and you. I've got my thing. It's only $3. Your turns. This time, Cove didn't look aimlessly at what was in front of him. He shut his eyes and put all his mind's power into conjuring up an answer. Soon he stole a quick glance at Derek's lemons. I'm sorry. This is inappropriate. Soon he stole a quick glance at Derek's lemons through squinted eyes, and then he took his turn. Come on. Go. Let's do it. You made another trip across the length of the store, this time at a much brisker pace. Cove had his target in sight, even if you couldn't see it yet. He blew past all the food aisles, the pet shelves, and the cleaning supplies. He only stopped when you'd made it to the one random aisle in the store, with cheap plastic kids' toys. This is it. His words were eager and certain. There was a childish excitement to Cove that was fitting for the location. He reached a hand to the wall with yo-yos and bubble blowers. His fingers landed in the baggie of water balloons. Drinking lemonade is gonna make me want to have fun outside too. We can use this for that. Yeah. Perfect plan, Cove. Good work. I knew you could do it. It's great you found something. I'm amazed you didn't get food. Alright, you grinned at the two. I'm amazed you didn't get food. Me too. For all his previous indecision, the sweetness of victory was all the more worth it for Cove. His selection was even cheaper than Derek's, $2 and a bit of change. All that was left of Derek's money was $3 and your choice of prize. Derek patiently cradled his bag of lemons while Cove watched you expectantly, excited to see what final piece of the puzzle would be. You reflected on the theme that was forming, your own preferences, and the shareability of different goods. In the end, you opened your mouth and said, How about chips to snack on? I do love chips, depending on what it is.